So if we could call for nominations for chair, please. Do you want to nominate?
Hello, Ms Squires, thank you. As the Vice Chair has sadly not turned up today, he, as far as I'm aware, has not made any indication that he was not going to attend today. I think it's very wise, and I think it's the right thing to do, is to make sure that after this meeting we put in place a mechanism to find out why the Vice Chair was unable to attend today. But in light of that, I'd like to nominate Councillor Ruth Skelton.
Okay, are there any objections to that?
No.
Okay, in that case, Councillor Skelton, would you like to take the chair and move up to the seat up here? Thank you.
Chair, yes. If I could just give some advice. Apologies first for the delay. We are running late for the reasons that have already been outlined. Having read the papers and looking at them, I do believe that the panel would benefit from some advice prior to the hearing officially starting. I also believe that there is an opportunity for parties to discuss the matter outside before the hearing formally starts. Once the hearing does formally start, certain options may no longer be available. So I think everybody would benefit from this matter now going to closed session. I can give the panel some advice, and then I would like to come out and discuss the positions of the parties before it starts, if that is agreeable.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. That is agreeable to me, Chair, what the legal officer said, and I think we should move to that.
Yes, I think that is sensible advice. So I think that's what we will now do. So if we could just pause the broadcast. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this hearing for a temporary event notice. I'll first start with some introductions. I'm Councillor Ruth Skelton. I'll be chairing the meeting today, and my colleague is just on the front row.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Councillor Rob Cooper.
And we have officers with us, and to my left,
Lionel Dessa, solicitor with the council.
am I right?
I'm Karen Squires from Democratic Services.
Right.
I'm Anne Walker. I'm representing the licensing team.
Right, and if the police would like to introduce themselves.
I'm PC Gemma Williamson from Derbyshire Constabulary, a licensing enforcement officer.
I'm Sergeant Dan Handley-Farrell. I'm Sergeant of the licensing team.
Right, and
I'm Narissa Davis-Blake, witness for Revel Price.
and you, the applicant.
I am Revel Price and also a licensed holder.
Thank you. Yeah, once you've spoken, push your button off. Otherwise, it means that other people can't use their microphones.
Chair, before you continue, I just wondered if I could just address those present so I can outline why we had the adjournment and what was discussed outside.
Yes, please do.
The reason being is in the paper Appendix 2, there is a letter from the police dated the 13th of August of this year. In that, it offers an agreement by the police by which they would withdraw their objection if that was taken up. The reason for the adjournment was to allow the applicant to consider that. I wanted to bring it to the applicant's attention because the reason being is if that was agreed, the hearing wouldn't need to go ahead, and I wanted to make it clear as well that once a hearing does go ahead, the panel wouldn't have the opportunity to offer the same conditions or the same agreement that was offered here. So once the hearing starts, that option is no longer on the table, and I'm informed by the applicant that they wanted the hearing to continue in any event.
Yes?
There was no agreement.
Okay, right, thank you. So we will then proceed with the hearing. So the normal way we do this, I will ask Miss Walker from the council to present her report and outline the general matters to be considered. Councillors will then be able to ask Ms Walker any questions, as will the legal representative. The police will then be able to ask any questions, and also the applicant if you have any questions but questions at this point, not statements. We then move on to the responsible authority to outline their case, and again the rest of us in turn will be able to ask them any questions that we have, and then it will be down to the applicant to put his case forward, and again others will be able to ask questions. Once everybody has said what they need to say, I'll then ask people to sum up, and after that the panel will go into private session to make the decision. Okay, so Ms Walker, over to you.
Just microphone. I think the next section is you will ask all parties if they intend to call witnesses or rely on any additional documents or information at the hearing.
Yes, so the first question to be asked is that do any of the parties intend to call any witnesses, or have they got any more documentation they want to present other than what's already been submitted to us?
My sister, she's also a licensed holder that will be helping at the event, which wasn't mentioned in the documents.
Right, okay. The police?
Confirm on behalf of the police, we've got no witnesses or any documentation not already submitted.
Okay. And Ms Walker?
No, there's nothing extra, thank you, Chair.
Okay then, if Ms Walker would like to start.
Microphone. You also then have to ask, we have to decide whether to allow those witnesses to be called. Thank you.
Are you saying that we've already asked about witnesses?
I'm purely stating what the guidance says. If a party asks permission to call witnesses, the subcommittee will decide whether to allow these witnesses to be called.
But I don't think anybody has any witnesses. Unless you're intending to speak as well, or are you just here in support?
Only if need be, really, because he's only stating that have also got the personal license.
Right. So just in case, anyway, you do end up being a witness, does anyone have any objections to that?
On behalf of the police, no, we don't have any objections to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, Chair.
Okay. Right, so,
Yeah. Microphone. Have you asked if there is any additional documents or information to the hearing to each party?
yes, I have asked that. Right, Ms Walker.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. The hearing today is following the receipt of an objection notice received in respect of a temporary event notice for the basement Colombo House, Colombo Street, Derby. Where no licence exists, anybody over the age of 18 can issue a temporary event notice to the licensing authority. Only the police or the council's environmental protection team may object to a temporary event notice. In this case, an objection notice was received from Derbyshire Constabulary, hence our attendance at committee today. The temporary event notice was received by the licensing team on the 10th of August of this year from Mr Revel Orchard Price. A copy is attached at Appendix 1 in the report. An objection notice from the police was received on the 13th of August this year. A copy is attached at Appendix 2. A temporary event notice is for the sale of alcohol, regulated entertainment and the provision of late night refreshment. The event is to start at 1600 hours on the 4th of September 2021, ending on 0400 hours on the 5th of September 2021. A location plan for the venue is attached at Appendix 3. The committee is obliged to determine the objection notice received with a view to promoting the licensing objectives. The committee, when making its decision, should have regard to the Licensing Act, the guidance issued under that Act, the Council's own licensing policy and the Human Rights Act 1998. The options open to committee are listed in point 1.7 of the report. I apologise here for a typo. The second option is not available as this particular venue does not hold a premises licence and the option should be ignored. My apologies again for that. So the options open to committee today are to, uphold the objection notice received and serve a counter notice on the notifying individual, Mr Price, or to reject the objection notice received from Derbyshire Constabulary. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper, do you have any questions for Ms Walker?
Thank you, Chair. Microphone. Has there been any communication about this temporary licence event from any other area other than the police?
In the case of temporary event notices, there's only two responsible authorities who can serve an objection notice. One is the police and one is the council's own environmental protection team. We've only had the one objection notice from Derbyshire Constabulary for this particular notice. Thank you.
Right, I don't have any questions, but do you, the legal advisor? No. Okay. Do the police have any questions at this point for Ms Walker?
No, thank you.
Right. Do you, as the applicant, have any questions at this point for Ms Walker? Yeah, just on what she said, any clarifications you want or anything like that? Okay, thank you.
No, not at this time.
Right, so in that case, we will now move on to the police as the responsible authority to outline their case. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and also thank you for holding this meeting at short notice. On Tuesday, the 10th of August, 2021, the police as a responsible authority received the temporary event notice as previously discussed by Anne Walker, the applicant being Revel Orchard Price. The 10 requests authorisation to allow the sale of alcohol by retail, the provision of regulated entertainment and the provision of late night refreshment between the hours of 1600 and 0400 hours starting Saturday the 4th of September 2021. The application was initially dealt with by PC Gareth Fowler. Unfortunately, he isn't able to attend the meeting today due to a pre-arranged absence, so I'm representing on behalf. When he received the application, it immediately raised concerns due to the late hours being requested and the possible adverse effects of the licensing objectives associated with it. PC Fowler contacted the applicant, Mr Price, and spoke with him at length about the concerns of the police and specifically the access to alcohol into the early hours of the morning. Mr Price stated that as a responsible personal licence holder, he would listen to advice and wanted to work with the police to ensure the function could go ahead safely. PC Fowler then completed an inspection of the premises where the function was due to be held with the owner of the property. This is the basement of Colombo House, which is a room with an external concrete ramp which leads into a double door entrance at the side of the building and a steep, narrow stair fire exit to the first floor at the front of the building. I can confirm that there's no CCTV at the premises. Following the inspection of the premises, PC Fowler once again spoke with the applicant, informing him that he believed that drinking until 0400 hours in the morning could adversely impact the crime and disorder licensing objective due to people potentially being heavily intoxicated. PC Fowler suggested that a more reasonable time to finish would be 0100 hours. The applicant stated on the phone that this wouldn't work for his event as he had guests coming up from London and they wouldn't be arriving until 2300 hours. PC Fowler suggested a modification to the time from a finish time of 0400 to 0200 hours. Even though this was later than he was entirely comfortable with, he felt that this was working in the spirit of the 182 guidance, whereby the applicant and the responsible authority can come to an agreement which will allow the proposed licensable activities to proceed. Following the conversation, he was under the impression that Mr Price had agreed to these times, so he had sent him an email with confirmation to see if that would be acceptable. No reply or agreement was forthcoming from the notice giver, so on Friday the 13th of August 2021, PC Fowler submitted the representation to the temporary event notice. The reasons for the representation are as follows. There can be no conditions placed on the temporary event notice as the current location does not hold either a premises licence or a club premises licence certificate. Therefore, no conditions can be transferred. The police have no confidence that the licensing objectives could be promoted. The police are aware that there is no CCTV system installed at the premises. Guests would have access to the sale of alcohol until such early hours of the morning. The police would expect to be able to see training records to ensure that they were competent in the safe service of alcohol, ensuring that nobody could be served who was either underage or drunk. It is impossible for the police to be satisfied that such training would be in place, and we would be unable to enforce it without conditions of a premises licence. The 182 guidance states the system of permitted temporary activities is intended as a light touch approach. The police, as a responsible authority, would suggest that a licence running until 0400 would require conditions which can only be enforced by a premises licence. Annex 1 of the bundle has been included to evidence licensed premises in the local area who have varying closing times between midnight and 0100 hours at weekends. However, they also have suitable conditions added to the licence to promote the licensing objectives. These licences have purely been included to the bundle to evidence the decision-making process by the police, although it is noted that every application is on its own merits. It just demonstrates that even licensed premises in the area that have a much earlier terminal hour have suitable conditions added to promote the licensing objectives. In this case, as I've already mentioned, we are unable to do that. Colombo House has a history of serious incidents occurring in the basement area of the building. A full list of the incidents going back to the 24th of August 2014 is attached to Annex 2. As you can see by this list, to Colombo House alone, the majority of the incidents have happened at mostly unlicensed parties and have happened between the hours of 0140 and 0720 hours. However, it must be noted that even had there not been such incidents, the police would still have concerns regarding the late terminal hour and the promotion of the licensing objectives. The police have tried to agree a modification to the licence so we can be satisfied that the licensing objectives will be promoted whilst giving the applicant the opportunity to hold their event. With this refusal to bring back the terminal hour, I believe that if allowed to go ahead, it's highly likely that the licensing objective for prevention of crime and disorder could be undermined. As modification of the 10 cannot be issued as an outcome of this hearing, I would respectfully ask that the committee issue a counter notice to this 10. I would just like to clarify the point that we've had a discussion with Mr Price outside of this hearing to point out that 0200 hours was still an offer on the table prior to this hearing, which he declined. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this representation, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you for that. Councillor Cooper, do you have any questions for the police?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Constable. Thank you very much for outlining the police's concerns. Just so that I can fully understand, not as a police officer, I'm a local councillor, what is it between the hours of 2 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning that gives the police the concern that they have to make this objection? What are the tangible things as a layperson that members of the public would understand what would happen what possibly could happen between 2 and 4 o'clock that have such concerns to the police?
In our professional opinion, as the police, we deal with numerous licensed premises, including city centre premises and surrounding. And it is noted that the later the terminal hour, the more issues of crime and disorder there are. And also there is more opportunity for people to be intoxicated and to get further intoxicated, which we know as police leads to crime and disorder issues. And this is why most late night premises, in fact I can't think of any that aren't any later than sort of 1 o'clock, have very stringent conditions added to a premises licence to ensure that the licensing objectives are promoted, and we have an enforcement power if they're not. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you for that. Legal representative, do you have any questions? Do you, as the applicant, have any questions on what the police have actually said? Just questions at this time.
Yes. A few points that you've stated. The officer that's not present at the moment, he said that we've made some agreement. At no point we've made an agreement. So he's stating stuff that I can't understand, like he hasn't given me a chance to express myself about the event and how it would be organized. So he's saying that the amount of alcohols will be sold. Can you explain how many alcohol will be sold at that time? Because that's just going by assumptions, right?
Obviously, I can't comment on any of the discussions that you had with PC Fowler, as I wasn't present to those. And I can only relay the conversation that he has said he's had with you, to which he's put forward our concerns. I think regardless of the amount of alcohol that is sold, the fact that alcohol is available at that time of night, we would still want a premises licence so that we could have conditions on the premises licence to enforce the licensing objectives. I think it's more a case of it's the fact it's on a temporary event notice, which doesn't give us any allowance to do that. And obviously temporary event notices are designed for very low level events. And I know this is going to be a birthday party, but the fact that alcohol is available for a very long period of time, we perceive that there could be crime and disorder issues from that.
So that there again is another assumption, because he did not actually have the time to speak with me to find out how the event is organized. So me putting questions to you and you can't answer it is not really going to help me out throughout the situation now, because you can only go by what's in front of you.
Like I say, it's not an ideal scenario. Obviously, the best option would have been for PC Fowler to be here to speak to you directly, having dealt with it from the start. Unfortunately, we don't have that option available to us. And, you know, I can only go on. As the police, we've had to weigh up the previous history of the premises and the current standing. You know, we don't want you to not have the event, which is why we've tried to find some sort of middle ground to say, can we bring the terminal hour back to give us some confidence? And as far as I'm aware, and like I said, I wasn't party to the original conversation, that was the agreement by you as the applicant and PC Fowler, which obviously is not the case. So we're not really left with any other option apart from to ask for it to be a counter notice to be issued.
All right. So therefore, we can't ask the question that I would like to ask the officer. But from your reading, you've stated that in 2014, there's incident that happened at the event. Is that basically like transferring malice to someone that applied for an event?
No, we would have to weigh that up with any applicant of any premises. We look at the history. Has there already been a history of issues at that premises? And I'm not saying that you're responsible for any of those issues, but that premises by itself has a history. So we have weighed that up, but that is also part of the reason we've tried to modify the 10 to say, yes, we accept there's a history of crime and disorder there, but you're not fully responsible for that. So in order to give us confidence, can we come up with a modification to the terminal hour?
Question. If we have a different venue then, would the time still be an issue?
Obviously, every application will be on its own merits. I can't comment without knowing what that premises would be. However, any premises going until 0400 hours, we would be wanting a premises licence. There would have to be some serious reasons to the contrary as why we wouldn't have a concern. The way we interpret it is temporary event notices, yes, they can be used for this purpose. It is totally legal. However, as a responsible authority, we're there to make sure the licensing objectives are promoted. And as far as we're concerned, the only way you can do that of a late venue that serves alcohol is to have conditions attached, which, again, isn't an option. That venue may have a premises licence already, and therefore we'll be able to transfer conditions. So without knowing which premises you'd be referring to, I wouldn't be able to comment at this time. I have to take it on its own merit, so I hope that answers the question.
In your statements also, you've made few points as well about the public safety and nuisance. Again, I can't ask you any question because we did not have the conversation, but I'd ask this question: what kind of event is it? As it stated, public nuisance.
What we have stated is a birthday party and a barbecue and the provision of late night refreshment and regulated entertainment.
So
that.
Oh, sorry. So nothing was mentioned that it was an headphone party, so there was no noise.
I think in my representations, I've only only commented on the prevention of crime and disorder. Although I know it was originally mentioned about public nuisance and protection of children from harm, the main one, as the police, would be the prevention of crime and disorder. That would be the objective that we would be basing our objection on at this time.
So therefore you have no knowledge of my event.
I only know what's been submitted on the temporary event notice and what's been relayed to me from PC Fowler about the event.
Right.
Right, Mr. Price, it's now your opportunity to put your case to us for being able to hold your event. So over to you.
All right. I've been keeping event for quite a long time, and I've never had any issues at any of my event. I do not hold any, what would you say, records, any criminal or sort of records with the police or anything. I think they've probably done their background check to see that I've got a clean record. And over the many years that I've been doing event, there's never been any incident that has been reported, or else it would have come back to my name as a red flag or anything like that. My birthday event is actually an headphone party, so therefore there would not be any noise. And in his statement, he said it would have been public nuisance. He's also stated in his statement that there is no taxis in the area or anything. The furthest taxi rank from the area itself is actually less than a mile away from the place, which I have gone to and notified them of my event, so they'll have an idea of people in the area. Also, there would have been contact numbers for people if they want to disperse from the premises. We didn't get the time to actually speak about the event. The officer was adamant that he wanted it to stop at 1 o'clock. He didn't give me a chance to explain myself or anything, so therefore we could not have come to any agreement. The young lady on this side over here, the officer, stated that we tried to speak outside and they were still giving us the grounds at 2 o'clock, but they're only going by what's been said in the paper. They did not try to give us any, what would you say? Any grounds where we can try to work out something. They just wanted to come here and get it done and out of the way. So nothing was actually being said outside. That's as much as I can say at the moment.
Okay, thank you. You said obviously you didn't get the opportunity to explain to the officer who visited the premises with you about exactly what you were planning for the event. It's now your opportunity to tell us that.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of things in place for the event, like securities and the headphone just to keep the noise away from anything, even though it's in an industrial area where there's no one to complain about the noise. We still try to do our best to try and make it, pardon?
Try to make the noise as minimal as
As minimal as possible, thank you. The event, what we wanted to do is to do a barbecue in the day for the kids, because nothing has happened over the last few years in the Caribbean community, basically. And we were trying to do something because a lot of parents knows of me, and they were looking forward for something during the summer. But because of what we are going through at the moment, we're trying to fit everyone into just my event. So what would have happened is, would have started at 4, finish at 8, refresh ourselves, come back, start from 11, and go till 4. If alcohol is the problem with the officer, it could have stopped at 3 o'clock. We party for the last hour, and then everyone would disperse and go home. But as I said before, nothing was spoken with the officer. He didn't give me a chance to speak to him about the event and how it's been organized and how we've got things sorted out and in place to make it a successful event or a safe enough event for everyone.
So you said about security. What exactly have you got in place?
I've booked 6 security guards, free to man the gate and free for the internal of the building.
And is that for the whole event or just from 11 till 4?
Yes, from 4 in the evening till 4.
Councillor Cooper, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Price, you've suggested in your presentation that you've been involved in holding events for a long time. Can you just specify how long that is and how long you've been involved with the event venue at Colombo House?
Right. I've had about... Well, I've recently moved to Derby. I usually live in London, so most of my event used to be in London. But I've moved to Derby 6 years now. And I think the year when I came here was just in time when it was actually closing down, 2014. And I had my birthday party there at that time. But at that time, the premises was actually licensed, so I did not need to apply for any license activity. But because of the situation of the building, and they do not have a license, I have to put myself forward for the event itself.
Thank you, Mr. Price. You mentioned that there was a taxi rank within a mile of the venue. Can you just explain exactly where that is, please?
Right. A note, I've got 3 taxi ranks. There's A to B, which is the furthest, which is just under a mile, 0.9. And that is 74A Osmaston Road, which is one straight road and you turn off to the venue. There's Albatross, which is another 0.8 miles, 4 minutes drive. And then there's PJ's Cars, which is actually around the corner, which is 0.6 miles, 3 minutes drive from the venue.
I think they're the premises where the taxis are, drive out of, where the radio people are. I think when I think of a taxi rank, I think of, somewhere where a Hackney carriage would pull in. Is that what you mean, or do you mean a premises where taxis drive from?
Sorry, where do taxis actually drive from? So base taxis.
So, Mr. Price, reading Appendix 2, there is a lamentable history of incidents that seem to have emanated from the venue that you're applying for a temporary licence event from 2014. Is the current operator of this venue still the same as from 2014? I believe it's the Derby Rastafarian Association.
Please say again.
Having read Appendix 2, there seems to be a lamentable history of incidents that have happened and seem to emanate from the venue at Colombo House from 2014. Has the Derby Rastafarian Association been operating this venue since 2014 to now?
I don't know of the Rastafarian history about the venue itself. I only know of the owner that owns it, and that's the person I deal with.
And finally, Mr. Price, for the benefit of the subcommittee panel, I myself and Councillor Skelton, can you walk us through the 4 licensing objectives of Derby City Council, please?
The licensing objectives, I don't understand.
So Derby City Council has 4 licensing objectives. The Constable gave you one previously, which is the prevention of crime and disorder. Can you provide us the further 3, please?
Are you talking about public nuisance?
The objectives of your license.
I'm a little confused. I'm confused at this moment.
So Derby City Council, the licensing department, has 4 licensing objectives. Can you talk us through all 4, please, considering that Constable Williamson has provided you with one, which is the prevention of crime and disorder? Can you walk us through the other 3?
No. Just
Thank you, Chair.
Do you have no questions? Right. Does the responsible authority have any questions at this point?
I just have one question for Mr Price. You've mentioned that you're having security. Was it 6, if I heard correctly? What will the security be doing on the night of the event?
they'll be manning the gate and making sure that everything's running smoothly.
Will these be SIA registered door staff?
Yes.
Thank you. I haven't got any further questions.
Ms Walker, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, I think we will now move to the summing up. So, first of all, licensing officer, Ms Wynne.
Thank you, Chair. I've nothing to add, just to reiterate the 2 options that are open to committee today. One is to uphold the objection notice received and serve a counter notice on the notifier, Mr Price, or to reject the objection notice received from Derbyshire Constabulary. Thank you.
Right, would the police like to sum up?
Thank you. I'll keep it very brief. The police have tried to agree a modification to the temporary event notice. We've been unable to come to an agreement with the applicant, and therefore the police believe if the event is allowed to go ahead until the terminal hour of 0400 hours, it is likely to undermine the licensing objective in relation to the prevention of crime and disorder. As a modification is not an option available to the committee, I would again respectfully ask that the committee issue a counter notice to this temporary event notice. Thank you.
And Mr Price, would you like to sum up, please?
I really don't know what to say here from here, to be honest, but as we said, we didn't get the chance to make any adjustment and speak of the event with the officer, which is not present. So I can only just go by the decisions you guys make from here on.
Thank you very much. Right, as we've now heard all the statements from the relevant people, the committee, i.e. myself and Councillor Cooper, will now go into private session. We'll retire and make the decision and then come back and make our announcement of that decision. Thank you. Right, thank you for your patience while we deliberated. We have now come to a decision. Having read the papers and heard the submissions given at this subcommittee on the 23rd of August 2021, the Licensing Authority considered an application made by you, Revel Orchard Price, on the 7th of August 2021, namely a temporary event notice in respect of proposed temporary licensing activities for A, the sale of alcohol by retail of alcohol on the premises, B, the provision of regulated entertainment, C, the provision of late night refreshment due to take place from 4 p.m. on the 4th of September 2021, terminating at 4 a.m. on the 5th of September 2021 at the basement, Colombo House, Colombo Street, Derby. The Licensing Authority is satisfied that if the activities were to take place, the licensing objective relating to crime and disorder would be undermined, and accordingly upholds the objection raised by Derbyshire Constabulary in respect of the notice. The Licensing Authority therefore gives this counter notice to you on the grounds that it is appropriate to do so to promote the licensing objective of the prevention of crime and disorder. Attached to this notice, which you will get a copy of just presently, is your rights of appeal and how to do that should you wish to do so. Okay, thank you everybody for attending the hearing today.